You've been told that once you start your GLP-1s, that you're on it. That's just how it works for the rest of your life. That the day the dose comes down is the day that it's gonna come all back. It's one of the most repeated things on the internet when it comes to these medications. And it's wrong in a very specific way. You see, there's no finish line where you're done, but there is a floor. And that floor is the dose that your body will actually hold the results at. And how low that floor sits, it isn't random. It isn't entirely genetics based, and it isn't decided by the medication. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I coach thousands of patients through GLP-1 weight loss and through the part that almost nobody makes content about. What happens afterwards? And this one's personal because I was over 300 pounds at the age of 16. I lost 100 pounds then, and then I spent the better part of 8 years losing the same 50 pounds over and over and over. And every spring I'd get in shape for summer. Every winter, the weight just found me again.
What's up?
It would say to me, if fat mass can talk. What ended that had actually nothing to do with the medication. It was figuring out that the body, it defends a weight, like a weight set point. And that weight it defends, it can be changed. Now I work alongside our medical team, helping people do that on purpose instead of by accident. Let me say the scary part out loud, because you're already thinking it. There's a number that gets quoted at you constantly, that people who stop these medications put back on roughly 2/3 of the weight within a single year. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that that number is fake. It came out of real trials with real people in them. But look at how those trials were built. They took people who were doing well, stopped the medication cold on a fixed schedule, and measured what happened. No taper, nobody watching the numbers month to month and making the right call. That is not the same thing as a person coming down with a team. Now, you probably have also seen someone point out that there's no hard evidence tapering prevents weight regain either. So why bother? And technically, they're right. As far as I can find, nobody's ran that trial. But we haven't studied it yet, and it doesn't work are two completely different sentences. And people say them like they're the same one. The fatalism isn't. Because inside those same trials were people who kept most of it off, and something separated them from the ones who didn't. So here's what's actually happening when somebody regains. Almost everybody tells you the same story about themselves. I got comfortable, I stopped tracking, I went back to my old habits. And that story, it feels true. Because from the inside, weight regain looks exactly like a discipline problem. And it usually isn't only that. I know that's part of it. What actually came back first was the hunger. Your brain defends a weight, not a weight that you picked. It's a weight that it decided on. And it holds that number the way that a thermostat holds a temperature. That's your weight set point. It's not a metaphor for willpower. It's a real hormonally driven target that your body works to protect. And it does not get tired here. The part that people miss though, losing weight is bringing a portable air conditioner into the room. It works, the room gets cooler, the scale goes down, it's real. But the thermostat on the wall, it never moved. And the second you unplug the AC, the room goes right back to the number that the wall says it should be. That's what stopping the medication does if nothing else changed underneath. The hunger that you'd forgotten about, it comes back. Not because you got weak, because the setting was never really adjusted. You spent that whole time cooling a room whose thermostat was still cranked. Now, I know that setting personally because remember, for about a decade after I fixed my metabolism, staying at a healthy weight was genuinely comfortable. It wasn't a fight anymore. There was no more white knuckling. But every time I reached for the truly lean physique, my body, it pushed back hard. That ceiling was real, and effort alone never got me past it. What eventually did, though, was a lower dose of these amazing GLP-1 medications. Not because the dose reset anything, but because it quieted the fight long enough for me to build the thing that does. And I'll tell you where I ended up later, which raises the obvious question here. If the thermostat is the problem, what actually turns it down? Now, if you're sitting there realizing that the thermostat is the actual problem, that the weight was never the thing that you were fighting, that's exactly what this free discovery call is for. It's where you find out what working with our team on this actually looks like. You'll talk to one of our patient educators about where you're at and what's been going on. Just text the number on the screen or grab that link in the description. But first, let's get back to that thermostat conversation, because there's one thing about it that I haven't told you yet. Now, the setting, it isn't permanent. That's the entire reason that any of this is worth doing. A thermostat that got turned up can be turned back down. Now, the only question that matters is what the dial actually responds to. And it doesn't respond to only effort. People have been testing that theory with willpower for 50 plus years, and we have the results. Now, quick thing, before I keep going, because it's going to come up later and I'd rather say it now than surprise you with it. I lifted weights for 20 years. Back in June, I got rid of all of it. Every barbell, every dumbbell that I used for non-mobility type exercises. And I replaced the entire thing with one piece of equipment called the X3 bar. It takes a fraction of the time and my joints are in better shape than they ever have been before. Now, heads up, I am an affiliate here. So if you end up grabbing one of those through the link in the description, I do earn commission, and I'll tell you exactly what changed my mind at the end of this video. All right, so here's what actually moves it. Muscle. Not the way that you're thinking about it, not arms, not looking good in a shirt. Muscle mass as an organ. Living tissue that burns fuel around the clock and it pulls sugar out of your bloodstream, whether you've trained that day or not. Now, here's what almost nobody connects. Your body is constantly taking inventory of that tissue. How much you have, how much it burns, how well it handles sugar. Now, from what we see clinically, that inventory is a huge part of where it decides to hold the thermostat. So when people tell me they came out of their weight loss smaller, but softer, squishier, looser, less toned than they had expected, they think they're describing something cosmetic. But that's not the only thing they're describing. That is a metabolic problem with a mirror attached to it. Because somewhere between 1/4 and 40% of what comes off during GLP-1 weight loss isn't just fat, folks, it's lean muscle tissue. And that's not the medication just inherently attacking your muscle. That's your body making a reasonable decision. Your appetite drops, protein goes with it, and nothing is asking those muscles to do anything. So your body reads that as a shortage and it starts breaking down muscle for fuel. It doesn't keep tissue it isn't using during a famine, which means the thing that decides your floor is being decided right now while the weight is coming off. So 2 people lose the same 80 pounds. One protected that tissue on the way down. The other lost a chunk of it along with the fat. Same number on the scale, but 2 completely different bodies underneath. Running 2 different metabolisms, defending 2 different thermostats. You got the same weight loss, different floor. And that's the thing that separated the people in those trials who kept the weight off from the ones who didn't. It wasn't just discipline. What they walked out of the weight loss still carrying. Now, here's what I know you're thinking because I hear it all the time. So, Dr. Jones, I just inject myself until I die? That's it? That's the line? That's what everybody's afraid that this will all add up to. And the answer is no. It's actually the opposite. This is the whole reason that the dose gets to come down. Now, if that just rearranged something for you, like if it's clicking, if same weight, different floor is going to stick with you today, then hit that subscribe button because we put out new videos every single week on getting the weight off and on the part that almost nobody covers, which is keeping it there. Okay, what actually protects the tissue? We got 3 things in this order because the order matters. Number 1, protein first. Not protein eventually, protein first. At every single meal, before anything else on that plate touches your fork. The target that we use is 1 gram per pound of your target body weight. Not what you weigh today, what you're aiming for. Now, most people do better splitting it across the day, roughly 30 to 40 grams a sitting. This one's non-negotiable because protein is the raw material and it's also the signal. Without enough of it, your body has nothing to rebuild with and no reason to think that it should. And yes, hitting that number when the medication has erased your appetite is its own problem. Now, we're going to make that into an upcoming video, so before you ask. Now, quick gut check before we go to number 2. If somebody stopped you right now and asked why protein matters more on a GLP-1 than it did on any diet that you've ever done, could you actually give them the answer? I want you to sit with that for a second here. Okay, so number 2 here, the lowest effective dose. Over the long term, your dose should trend down, not up. The standard protocol early on walks you up the ladder every 4 weeks, whether you need it or not. But we go the other direction. So we work up to the smallest amount that quiets the food noise for you to build something. And then we stay there in most cases, and we very rarely have to go up. Sometimes we do. Now, here's something that sounds wrong. You don't want zero hunger. Zero hunger feels like winning, and it's what hurts people most often in the maintenance phase. If the medication is doing all of the work, you never build the skill of handling a normal appetite. And that skill, it's gonna atrophy, right? It's gonna break down. The same way that your muscles do. You want controlled hunger, slightly annoying, honestly. And down is a direction, not a rule. If cravings come roaring back and the weight moves the wrong way, going up for a stretch, that's the right call. Our medical team makes that with patients all the time. But the path, it's not a straight line. So number 3, give your body a reason to keep its muscle mass. And this is where I lose people, because somebody always says it. Working out is for fitness, for how I look. It's not for what keeps the weight off. And I get why that sounds right. You gotta understand it's completely backwards. Training is the signal. It tells your body that tissue is being used and shouldn't be broken down for parts. You take the signal away and the tissue goes, no matter how clean your protein is. Now, what I actually tell people is 3 sessions a week, about 45 minutes, full body workouts, working hard enough that the last few reps are genuinely difficult. And I know what happens for some of you when I say that. You used to like the gym. Now you can't make yourself care, and you're looking at the door 15 minutes in. That's the dopamine void. That is not you being lazy. Your reward brain has one wanting knob, and it controls everything: food, work, hobbies, ambition. What patients describe to me is the medication turning that whole knob down. Not just the food part. The food noise quiets, which is the win. But your drive, it may dim along with it, which is the cost. Now, it's a calibration problem, and in our clinic, it usually comes down to the dose. That's the first thing that our medical team looks at. So the answer isn't a perfect program. 3 good sessions is ideal, but the training that counts is the training still happening year 3. A short band workout in your living room, done consistently, will beat hour-long gym sessions planned that you abandoned in March. That's most of the reason that I train the way that I do now. Now, before I tell you where this actually ends, do me a favor here and let me know in the comments, where are you at right now? Are you still losing? Are you at your goal weight? Are you already coming down on your dose? Let me know what you're most worried about happening when it does, because I do my best to read most of these comments, and the most common situations end up becoming future videos. Okay, there is no day where somebody just hands you a certificate and says, you're done. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. And I know that's not the answer people want to hear. The question I get more than anything other is, how long am I going to be on this? And everybody's hoping for a number, but there really isn't one. What there is a maintenance floor. Your floor is the smallest amount of the medication that holds the results that you built. And it's genuinely different for different people because what's underneath it is different. Now, in our clinic, some patients, they land on a microdose, which is even below the starter dose, just enough to keep the signal on. And some, they land above the microdose area and maybe like a small maintenance dose, and they stay there comfortably. And some, they come off entirely and they hold it with just lifestyle only. Now, that last group is the minority. They're not the winners necessarily. And the other 2 groups, they didn't fail. All 3 are the protocol working exactly the way that it's supposed to. For me personally, my floor is a low dose every week. That's where I landed. And it's low precisely because of what I was carrying when I got there. 20 years of training meant that the tissue was already there. I have a lot of muscle. That ceiling that I told you about that didn't move because of the dose. It moved because the dose let me finally train hard enough to be able to move it. Okay, so be honest with yourself for a second before I wrap this up. Of those 3, which one actually sounds like where you were headed? And more importantly, based on the last 10 minutes, do you know what would have to be true for you to even get there? Now, here's the thing that I wish somebody had told me back when I was losing the same 50 pounds every single summer. You are not trying to escape the medication. You're trying to build a body that needs less of it. That, my friend, that's medication independence. Independence from the high doses, not from the medicine. The lifestyle takes over the load and the dose comes down to meet it. The muscle that you keep is what decides how far down it gets to come. Which brings me back to what I told you that I would explain. Now, I knew about the X3 bar for years and treated it as a backup option for people who traveled, for people who hate the gym, a substitute for real training. And then I read the research. I read Dr. Jaquisa's book, then the literature on variable resistance. And what the research shows is that variable resistance builds and holds muscle and strength just as well as conventional lifting. Might even be better, we don't know that yet. In less time though, and it's easier on your joints. Now, here's what matters, especially if resistance training isn't even in your world. A band gets heavier as you move through the range. So you're loaded where you're strong, not just where you're the weakest. And you can take a set to true failure without having a spotter, which matters because training that close to failure is one of the most reliable ways to not only hold on to muscle, but to make improvements, to build. Now, I thought it was a substitute in the past, but now I realize it's a replacement. A fraction of the time and better on your joints made the math easy for me. I'll leave a link to that in the description where you guys can make that purchase. Okay, so that handles the training side. A bar only doesn't fix the thermostat. And if the reason that you can't hold this is metabolic, the hunger came back and it hasn't let up. Your energy is gone, you're sitting at your goal weight, quietly bracing for the days that the dose does come back down. No pieces of equipment is going to touch any of that. And that part needs a team actually looking at your numbers and adjusting as they move. That's what the free discovery call is for. You get on a call with one of our patient educators and they'll ask what you've already tried, what's worked, and what fell apart on you, and where you're actually trying to end up. Then they're gonna walk through what working with our team actually looks like, how we handle the dosing, what our medical team and coaching teams actually do for you, and then of course, what the program pricings look like. And if you're on a GLP-1 right now and you have no idea what your floor is going to be, that's the conversation to have. Nobody should be finding that out by accident. It's a much better conversation while the weight is still coming off than 18 months after you've stopped and you're trying to figure out what happened. Just text the number on the screen, guys, or click that link in the description. And if what you're sitting with right now is okay, but what does that training actually look like? I made a whole video walking through it, 4 movements, no gym that you can do in your living room right now. There it is right there, guys. We'll see you later.